Hey everybody, welcome to another good e-reader comparison video. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Today we're going to check out the Kobo Aura HD versus the Barnes & Noble Simple Touch reader with Glowlight. As you can see, both of these e-readers reflect the latest generation of e-ink technology from both of these companies. This is the latest touchscreen illuminated e-reader that Barnes & Noble's made. Came out roughly about this time last year. The Kobo Aura HD is their second generation front-lit e-reader, and it is officially coming out sometime around April 25th of 2013. There's a lot of differences between these two devices. Most notably, you can see that this is larger. This is 6.8 inches. This is a 6-inch screen. Now there's a lot going on here. The resolution of the Aura HD is absolutely insane. It's 1440 by 1080, whereas the Nook Simple Touch is 800 by 600. Now, the DPI is also very noticeable, and this will give you clearer images, better font quality, and an overall better experience. The Aura has 265 DPI. The Nook only has 167. The Nook has an 800 megahertz processor, whereas the Aura has a 1 gigahertz processor. Now Peter here is going to give you the full 360, put these devices, through their paces.
The Simple Touch with Glowlight doesn't really look like the cookie cutter e-readers like the Paperwhite and the Kobo Glow and the Kobo Aura, where they're all kind of this bezel with a screen in the middle. They actually have some pretty interesting design features on this. You have a raised N, or as Michael still calls it to this day, an upside down U. You have page turn buttons with these nice rubber guidelines here, as you can see. You have the Nook logo, nice hard rubber around the side, and you have clips for the cases that Barnes & Noble actually releases. So design-wise, it's actually very different and very nice. Embossed N on the back, thumbnail, power button, expandable memory up to 32 gigs, micro USB with a status indicator light, and more clips on the top for the cases. Kobo Aura, very simple look to it, nothing special about the front whatsoever. Sides are very plain. The top we have a power slider bar / standby, status indicator light, and glow button. And on the bottom we have a micro USB with micro SD and a hard reset button. You can see that it's almost jagged like a mountain or like a W because they have this very nice design feature on the back. It's almost like a bent metal design to it. It makes the device really, really nice to hold because of these curved backing really conforms to your hand.
You see that the home screens look very different. Now, with the Kobo Aura, the home screen is actually quite dynamic. Anytime you create a shelf, access the web browser, load up a book, win awards, things are updated, and old things are pushed down, new things take their places here. The sync is fairly static, and that ensures that when you purchase ebooks from, say, the Kobo website while you're at work, or maybe you buy an ebook via the iOS or Android app, if you press sync, all of your purchases will be sunk to this device. With the Barnes & Noble, it's more or less like the Kindle Paperwhite. It's more like trying to hustle ebooks to you, buy this, see our top 100, new reads, more than it is, what are you doing now? What have you accessed lately? You only basically see this. And like in the top left-hand corner is like the only thing that's really customized. Everything else is Barnes & Noble trying to sell you stuff. Whereas with Kobo, this is more like, this is what you've done lately. And so most commonly with e-readers, you're checking out books on your shelf, maybe opening up a new book, maybe purchasing books, and all those things are here. So it's quite easy to, instead of having to go to 2 or 3 submenus to access the web browser, I've done it lately, I could open it up by just clicking web browser. With the main menus here, there's a few options. Reading Life is more or less their social nexus. You could check out reading stats, give yourself an indication on all of these types of things here. I won't mention them all because you could see for yourself, but you could also get awards and achievements, share them with your homies on Facebook. Barnes & Noble doesn't really have a lot of social features, but they do have Nook Friends, which basically allows you to share any ebook that you've purchased for up to 2 weeks, one time to one person. So that's kind of a unique thing that Barnes & Noble does, and they don't really hype that up to a huge degree. Now, when it comes to ebooks, it's all about storing your purchases. We're going to click on the library. This is more or less where everything is.
So you can see here on the library of the Nook, we've gone to shelves, and we can actually create a shelf, much like you can do on the Aura as well. So we're going to go add a shelf, and this is actually a good opportunity to look at the keyboards. Nothing too special about the Nook's keyboard, very standard. It's not quite as shaded and raised as, say, the Kindle Paperwhite's keyboard. Very simplistic. The Kobo Aura actually goes the extra mile to give you a dedicated row of numbers up top, which actually comes in handy when you're entering passwords and all that online, because, I mean, a lot of internet passwords require you to have numbers mixed with alphanumeric characters and all that, whereas you have to press the button here to toggle between the two, and they actually cover a lot of room with this big cancel button too. So not the best keyboard, but we'll go ahead and create the shelf here. I'll call mine Good Stuff.
I'll call mine Causey.
Alright, so much like on both, you select the books you'd like to have. So we'll just choose a couple here and click Save. And there you go, we have our books directly saved to our shelf, or our shelves as they call it on the Glow. And if we go to books on each of these, we can see how the library is laid out. So you can do gridded view or list view on both of these devices.
So with this extra screen real estate, you could see here that you really can only fit 6 titles per page, whereas with this you can fit a lot. So there's 4, 8, 12 total that you can do here, but you could also go to list view as well, which doesn't really take effective use of screen real estate. As you can see here, it only shows a Spartan few of them and whatnot. Okay, so dedicated e-readers, the big hyping factors, the front lit display. Let's just show you quickly how to initiate them. We won't churn them up to a huge degree, but we will show you more or less how the front light technology works with these e-readers. Now, front light is quite different from LCD tablets, televisions, iPads, all of that type of stuff, because the light is not emitting from a film behind the screen into your eyes. It's evenly distributed from the bottom of the Kobo up, and with the Nook, it's from the top down. So let's turn them on.
Press the top Glow button to turn on the Glow on the Aura, and you can see here we're at 1%, so we'll turn it up just a bit. So you can see there's different levels, and you see that the Glow is off right now, so you can either press and hold the N to turn on the Glow. It is not this blue on camera, this is just the way the light is reacting to it. Or you can choose the Glowlight toggle here, and you can adjust the Glow to your most comfortable setting.
Well, why do you need the Glow? Well, most people end up using their e-readers in low light conditions, in a shade, dark, airplane, or more particularly reading at night, and you don't want a lamp on when you're reading, say, a normal e-reader or a book to keep your spouse awake and things like that. With this, you can actually have the screen subtly illuminated where you don't need an external light source, and that's what you've always needed until this current generation of e-readers adapted front light technology from e-ink. So it really adds a little bit more versatility to a traditional e-ink device that will allow you to read in low light conditions or a completely dark room. Speaking of a dark room, if you want to see how both of these fare head to head in a completely dark environment, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/goodereader. We actually posted a fairly recent video of a nighttime reading test between the Nook Simple Touch Reader with Glowlight and the Kobo Aura HD. So we've put it through about a 5-minute test. So if you really want to see how these go head to head, I encourage you to check it out. Now let's take a look at the e-reading experience.
So page turns are very fast on both. It's a little bit quicker on the Kobo Aura, only because it's about a year newer. And
Faster processor, more RAM.
Yeah. So you can see here, nothing too special about the Nook Simple Touch. Because the bezel's so dark, it really makes the screen look smaller, and it just kind of squishes everything in. It doesn't have the screen real estate like the Kobo Aura does. I mean, it's just a much crisper screen, higher contrast, blacker blacks, cleaner background. If we click in the middle and choose to change our text, you get 7 levels of text sizes here, whereas on the Kobo you actually get a slider bar, and you both have line spacing, text styles, and that's about where it ends with the Nook. Now if we go over to the Kobo, you actually have an advanced section.
Well, just to point out that you have a lot more font options here, and with the Kobo you can actually load in your own fonts. So
Right.
if you're a fan of Wingdings, Comic Sans, Arial, Times New Roman, the world is yours. Speaking of advanced options, there's a lot of augment that you can employ here. You can choose the font, obviously, but you can actually adjust the font size, weight, and sharpness. And this is important with the sharpness and all this when you have the light on, because you maybe want the text on the font to be darker to juxtapose with the lit screen. So you can see here that the text is darker, but you can kind of find that sweet spot and get the before and after. So we'll just hit revert instead of saving all of that. But hardcore customizable options here.
Very simplistic on the Nook. You get just enough to change the text size and maybe a couple margins. Long presses open up dictionary definitions and start to do highlights. Unfortunately, on the Nook, you actually have to click look up to get any sort of definition, whereas if you have a quick definition on the Kobo Aura.
Yeah, of course, Facebook integration. You can write notes, add highlights, annotations, things like that. There's a lot of kind of social options here. I would probably say that the Aura is doing a better job overall just because of the higher processor, higher DPI, and a lot of these other external factors that make page turns faster and give you a little bit more versatility. I mean, keep in mind, this is a little bit older. This is way newer. Of course, that speaks volumes.
These two devices actually represent the beginning and the current version of Glowlight devices. This is the first Glowlight e-reader that has been released, and this is the latest one, so they're pretty far apart at this point.
Okay, now both of these e-reading devices use the EPUB format, which means that they play nicely with other stores. You could actually buy books from Barnes & Noble and then load them onto your Kobo via Adobe Digital Editions, and vice versa. You could buy books from Kobo and load them onto your Barnes & Noble Nook. And this opens up comparative shopping, being able to do business with companies like Smashwords, BookBaby, Atavist, and a number of other websites, and then load them on your device, whereas the Amazon Kindle often does not play nicely with other stores. Of course, you can also use a program called Caliber to really kind of take your ebook management and convert formats from one format to another and gain a lot more advanced functionality out of both of these devices. Now, we won't show you that, but if you're an advanced user, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a new user, that probably went way over your head. So the next thing that we're going to look at is PDFs, because PDFs is a very, very old format, but it's almost one of the most commonly ones that are still available on the internet. And getting an e-reader to read either technical PDFs, gaming materials, old newspapers, there's a lot of stuff out there. So let's take a look at how PDFs are handled.
All right, well, I'll just show you what I did there to get out of that reflow in a second. So what we're going to do is go to the same page here. So here's the same page, and you can really tell the differences between these two. Now, how you want to do, what you want to try to do naturally is pinch and zoom on the Nook, and that's not really going to do anything. It's just going to end up turning the page. Same with the Kobo. If you try to pinch and zoom, just turns the page in either direction based on which finger you had last. So what you have to do is double tap to get into this zoom mode, and then you can kind of scroll around the page via this mini map to see really where you're going. On the Nook, what you have to do is go to text, and from there you can change the text. These don't really indicate anything other than the size of the A. So if you choose something, it's just going to kind of randomly reflow it, not to any particular degree, and you lose the PDF format. It's now justified everything to the left, and you're reading it as if you're reading a book. So you'll have to scroll until you find the picture, and sometimes it won't be formatted so that the picture will show. So there's quite a bit of problems with PDFs on the Nook. It's not as comfortable to use than, say, the Paperwhite or even the SciBook Odyssey. So you can see where we're trying to see this picture, we can't because we've eliminated all images and we've gone into reflow mode. So you'll have to choose the text, go back to number 1 or 2 to actually get the photo again. So not the best for PDFs, to say the least.
Yeah, Kobo handles PDFs very differently than a lot of other e-reading companies. One of the cool things about it is once you kind of find that sweet spot, you could scroll to, you know, the far right, and you could actually turn the page and maintain the formatting and zoom levels that you've maintained, which is good because a lot of e-readers, when you turn the page, it puts all your zoom levels back to default and sort of takes you out of that experience. So when it comes to both of these, the Aura does a way better job with PDFs. The Nook will make a PDF function more like an ebook, but it will strip away a lot of the images and CSS elements. It really is important that you sort of find that sweet spot with each individual PDF. Sometimes the 3rd font option will show the pictures, sometimes the 5th option will. There's really no options set in stone. But both of these don't allow you to really pinch and zoom. You more or less have to double tap and then initiate sort of like this virtual sort of panoramic display, which is cool because it's not flickering like the Paperwhite does whenever you scroll around images. It kind of just like loosely allows you to do it, and then you let go, and then it like renders like the whole image. And you could really see through this crazy demonic drawing on the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual that the resolution is phenomenal.
Right. With the Nook, you have no idea where you are on the page. I mean, I've zoomed into, I think, the 6th level, and I am lost. So, the only way I'd suggest zooming is just holding this closer to your face. So that's about all you can really
Getting binoculars, magnifying glass.
Pop out a magnifying glass.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you've seen a lot of the, the things that make these unique, but also like the same. You've heard our thoughts with everything to do with these e-readers. Let's hear yours. You could leave a comment on this video, or you could drop us a line on our website at goodereader.com. And if you have any ideas for future videos, kindly let us know. This has been a comparison video between the Kobo Aura and the Barnes & Noble Simple Touch Reader with Glowlight for goodereader.com. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.